What's up, everybody, and welcome to Financially Fierce, a podcast for young adults by young adults, where we have conversations with experienced adults in fields like homeownership, credit, professional development, all the things that we can make sure to have a step-by-step guide to success. Today, we're going to be speaking with Tahj Anderson on entrepreneurship. But as we open up, Taj, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, greetings. It's good to be here on the podcast. Always giving back to the youth is an honor. Just being a young adult myself is so many gems that I've accumulated and just love to give back. As Miss Allen already know, it's just a passion of mine to just keep that flame ignited and keep the ball rolling and financial freedom and success and entrepreneurship, home ownership, just any way that we can grow as a community. I am Tahj Anderson. I am a New Orleans native. I came to McDonough, Georgia in 2006, where I went to Fort Valley State University, obtained my business degree in supply chain logistics management. From there, I pursued a career in logistics at Robins Air Force Base, where I worked as a supply planner during the Special Operation Forces for HH-60 Global Helicopters. During my tenure there, I did start pro-terrain landscaping. We'll get into obviously how that came about. And currently, right now, as the business is growing and automating, I am obtaining my master's degree at the University of Georgia, Go Dogs, in business management.
Thank you for the introduction. And so I would like to talk a little more about your business. As I remember when we had the conference that day, you were talking about your business being dealing with like lawn mowing. And could you go into more about that?
So what happened was during COVID, right? I was back home. Everybody got kicked out of their dorms and everything. So I was back home with nothing to do, a lot of energy, and two younger sisters. So I was eager to get out the house. So I just started doing a lot of work. Couldn't go nowhere. We couldn't go nowhere, but I could. My mom let me outside. She said you could go as far as the mailbox. But if you go anywhere further than that, we're not letting you back in. So I just started, utilizing the equipment that we had already in the garage. I used to cut the grass before I went to Fort Valley State University. So coming back to maintain the yard, and we did a lot of landscape projects and stuff. I realized YouTube University was my best friend, and
Yep.
I learned a lot of projects, a lot of do-it-yourselves, and my neighbors just started asking in the neighborhood for things, and you don't have to worry about COVID, outside. It's a contactless, business, unless we're accepting cash or check. But besides that, it's contactless business, and got a lot of practice and a lot of experience in just being a business owner from my neighborhood, from my community. That's why I always pride ourselves on being pillars to the community, because giving back, because without it, I wouldn't have the opportunity that I had to market, to just constantly grow, get newer trucks, get newer models, get newer slogans, get more shirts, acquire more working capital and things of that nature. So it started in the middle of COVID, 2019 to 2020, like the spring of 2020 is when we got sent back home. And that was my last semester of college, where I was taking 19 credit hours my senior year in order to graduate on time. But thank God that it was virtual, hybrid or synchronous learning. So I took advantage of that. We would be back and forth, in class and hybrid as well. So on the days that I did not have class, or if it was synchronous, I would literally just be back in my hometown, or where I grew up in McDonough, Georgia, just tending to the neighbors. Because, once you start something, you kind of just feel obligated, right? You make it a responsibility. And then it was just cutting grass. And then one neighbor said, "Can you cut a tree?" And I said, as long as I don't got insurance, but if
Yeah.
you're willing to take the risk, I'm willing to try. And then one tree led to another, and one French drain led to another, and one fence led to another. So it's just a learning experience, allowing me to apply what I learned in accounting and learn in supply chain and learn in business admin, what I learned in marketing. So it's gave me basically my own internship to the aspect of business school. So it was a great startup.
So one thing that I wanted to ask, because most time when people think about a business or creating a business, most time small things like just mowing lawns or something like that are not really considered as a way to start a business or a thing that a business can even be started on. So how did you know that this was something that you could actually start on or like create a business from?
The market, we speak about supply and demand all the time, and when you realize we're going into a tech era, we have a lot of us going to school and not trade school, right? And not into the blue collar work. And just me myself, like I said, I've been at the Air Force base. I was there 2 years while I was in school, and then I did 2 years out of school, and that's when I went full time being self-employed. But just like me, working on a computer, doing logistics, who is going to maintain these essential services, and the people who do these things that own these businesses, they're getting older, right? And us younger people are not realizing that there is a need, so literally when I was cutting my neighbor's grass, they was just stopping, right? And I'm doing it after school hours. So it's like 5 to 7 typically when people are coming home. So
Mhm.
everybody's getting back. I found that was a good market. I even sometimes, I like to do a lot of work during business hours, but just as a marketing opportunity, I schedule some projects from 5 to 7 so they can see, the guys in the truck doing a project. The bigger the projects, I schedule them a little later so they could kind of, it's free marketing, it's free advertisement.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was just, I realized the market was there. They was just like, oh, we need this, and I need that, and I can't find nobody reliable or dependable. The older people are getting more tired. COVID is happening, so they are more, inclined to stay in the house. And I just saw a need, and I met it with a opportunity.
That's really good to hear. So, based on like your experience, what would you tell somebody who has a type of skill or a smaller thing that most people don't really think much of? What would you say to them in order to be able to understand how they can make that into a business?
Focus on your strengths. Focus on your strengths. There's a lot of opportunities where you find it's simple and you find it's easy. You realize that you don't have to work as hard to things that come natural, right? We have a dream of what we want or what we view success as, or what we view our goals in the future, and sometimes it just hinders the now. So um do I want to acquire a certain amount of money? Do I want a certain job? Yes. But at the same time, if you're saying, hey, I want to start a side hustle, or hey, I want this to be my passion, or this is my passion, I want to turn this into a business, I would say do it. Like I don't look at, I could not look at my friend's approval to say, hey, I'm gonna start cutting grass, or start back cutting these like, and I didn't know how big it would go. When I started it, it wasn't to cut trees or to do construction or to even think about even having these commercial contracts, right? But I literally just did something that I know I can do. I'm passionate about giving back to others, and I saw a need, so this was my way of giving back to others and acquiring some money. So I would just say find the simple things that you just naturally do and take that to your advantage. And if you want to grow in another area, this is kind of like, it's like school for yourself. You use this as the capital to grow in another era. This is your way of building your own capital, building your own funding, and you may not want to do it to an extent of don't work yourself. Don't feel like you're working yourself, because then you're not going to enjoy it. But you do have to realize, just like school, there's going to be things you like about school, and there's going to be things you don't like about school. There's going to be things you like about adulting, and there's going to be some things you don't like about adulting, right? So even
Yep.
turning your passion and your purpose, there's going to be some things that you just look at and be like, why did I decide to do this? But when you refresh and you're rejuvenated and you look back, you're happy that you're doing something that you actually love.
And then being that you were in school, like most college students who are here, we wanted to know How exactly could you relate your major? Because I remember you said you were it's like a finance major, I believe. And so how could you like relate your business, okay, sorry, your major to your business? And how would you recommend others do the same? Like for the other majors though.
I would see where it's best fit. That is kind of a tough thing to do. You have to get creative in some time. So let's say if it's psychology, right? I love psychology. I always wanted to study psychology. I plan on getting my doctorates in psychology or some form of psychology, right? Where would psychology fit? Most people say human resource, right? Inside of a business. What I've realized while I'm obtaining my master's degree, there's a strong need for organizational leadership, right? People who understand people's specialties and abilities and how to dig deep, find research, find data on the company, and find that niche that best fit. Like, hey, these are your late hours, these are your early hours, these are people who respond to this, these are people who respond to that, things of that. That's a form of psychology. No matter what business that you're in, understanding eventually the people that work for you, how can you relate to them? So you can be a leader and not a dictator, right? In any
Yeah.
form. You could relate it in that sense. If it's cybersecurity or IT, no, one of the most steps, especially to acquiring funding, is having a website, right?
Hmm.
Or understanding databases so you can break down the analytics of your business for growth and not just guesstimate, right?
Yeah.
Find things to a science. But I would literally say find something that applies to that applies to your purpose, and when you can start making sense out of it, it all start making sense for you. That's one thing I say is you have to make some sense out of it. But at the same time, if it's not aligned, then the money really is, it's distracting you from what you really need to be focused on. And sometimes it's not to be an entrepreneur right there, right? They say the business can work for you or it can work on you. All right. And so you could be in the area of where the business can work for you. So most business owners like myself, most CEOs and entrepreneurs like myself, they say the first 5 years are going to be the rough patch. You can get through the first 5 years, but that's mainly because your business is molding you to be the CEO that it needs, right? And that's also going in with the purpose of how you can apply your passion to the principle, which is the outcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, I begin. Let's begin with a little more technical into developing a business. I wanted to ask, what were the first steps when it comes to developing your business?
Hustle. I would say hustle. Uh, the first thing you have to do is realize that you have a skill or ability and you're able to stretch that as far as you can. And that's the hustle of the things. Most people, will stop at the lawn care, but when somebody asks me to cut the tree down, I'm gonna cut the tree down. And that just goes with the hustle of it all. I'm going to do the research and I'm going to, even if I say yes, I can always come back and say, no, I'm not confident, but I could say yes right now, and go do my research. And then I realize that either I feel confident in achieving this goal or not. So the first thing I say is hustle. The second thing I say is you cannot do anything without organization. No matter how it looks on the outside, if your infrastructure is not sound, if your foundation is not solid, it will expose you in a lot of areas, and you would have to backtrack. When it comes to grant writing, you will realize that it's important to have the simple things: a 1-800 number, a virtual address, a proper operating agreement, uh, a LLC that's in good standing, a EIN that's being used efficiently and effectively, um, and a team and a mentor. These are very key in starting a business. If you do not have a mentor, I recommend you get one. or two or three. I typically have a mentor in every area of my life. For business, I have a mentor in every area of the business. I call that obtaining this master's degree, and
Mhm.
so I hold to every instructor. My finance instructor, I hold to him. My data analytics instructor, I hold him. These are the people that, they'll tell me, this is homework, but I bring my business work to them and see how I can apply it as well. Um, but having mentors is very important. Having people in the same field as you
Mhm.
is very important, and utilizing the power of social media not only to market, but to to revamp your news feed, right? I always wondered why I wasn't growing as a landscaper and things of that nature. Not as a business owner. I have a lot of things, for business owner that come on my feed, but landscaper, the new and updated equipment. You basically have to be a nerd in your field, right? To be the best, you have to be a nerd. You have to study it day in and day out. So when I'm on social media, if it's not business related, if it's not, landscape related, and I
Mhm.
do have, a social aspect of my social media, but the ratio should be, what you're going for. You should see a lot of things in your future and not in your present. If you see a lot of things of the present, then it's not helping you towards your future,
Yeah.
I wouldn't see the landscapers who cutting these commercial properties. So when that commercial property come, then I see, I've been watching this on my feed,
Yeah.
repetitive over and over and over again. I've been seeing this right here over and over and over again. So you are implementing some type of education or understanding in your brain, and I would say ignorance is the biggest deterrent, and it brings a lot of fear. A lot of us have a lot of fear because we lack a lot of knowledge, and because we don't know, we're not motivated to start. So I would say, starting a business, you have to have a hustle, you have to have a grind, you have to have the passion, you have to have the fire, but also you have to have the infrastructure, you have to have the foundation, you have to have um, the right the right team. I would say team,
And
right?
actually, I have two questions related to what you just said
Mhm.
because I know I started my own personal business. And the thing that I had realized was there wasn't a lot of like, no one ever told me that you needed to go get an EIN number or you had to register your business. I just thought, okay, I can just start selling this or I can start doing whatever and then I can just be a business. But how did you find those resources?
I would say social media.
Okay.
Social media. Only because it was things that I saw while I was in school anyway. But a lot of my friends, and it's crazy, your friend group will tell you a lot about yourself. So a lot of my friends were already entrepreneurs. My mom's an
Mm,
entrepreneur. So certain words, kind of already like LLC, you kind of, and
yeah.
then it was EIN when we're talking about it, kind of just already clicked. So when I was seeing it on my social media feed, the names weren't foreign to me. It was more of the
Learning what
power
they
of
actually
them.
were.
Right, 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 exactly. So yeah, that's why I say your team and who around you, it really helps shape you, because if you're the only one learning, you're the only one knowing, you're the only one growing, then who's pouring back and feeding into you? You're stressing yourself out tirelessly, researching and finding and absorbing, but it's not just coming to you. It's not over dinner. It's not at a friend's house while y'all are playing games. It's not bowling and y'all just sharing information. You have to give information to people, but who's giving information to you? This is things you have to find, and that could be a little, tough to manage. When you have school, when you have work, when you have a social life, when you have a personal life outside of it. Nobody want to constantly research things.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that while we're in school. you
No.
know so who want so yeah.
And then you were talking about with the people having the people around you. But let's say from like a business standpoint, and I wanted to start my business, would you say it's beneficial to start with other people or would you say it's beneficial to start on your own?
that is that's I'm going to say, if you have not fully understood the power of being a business owner and the responsibility of being a business owner, you should start the journey by yourself, because it gives room for error and
Okay.
growth. Um, if you are aware of the things that it takes to be a business owner, and it could be just one of y'all, one of you two. It just takes one person to be aware. As long as the other person, is, I'll lead this part. Everybody has the 50-50. You might be the outgoing person, and they might be the person that's like, hey, let's sit down and do these reports. These reports are due at the end of the week. Stuff like that. That's one thing about the business that I say I lacked. And starting a business on my own, it showed that it was unorganized. This is some areas that exposed me when my friend, he's a data analyst, and he was like, okay, let's go through your numbers and look at things. And yeah, I have certain numbers, but I didn't have, weekly reports and financial reports and quarterly reports and my regression analysis, and is it going in the right direction that I want it to go. I'm just, hustling is kind of just getting things as they come, and that's good. That's one side of it. But when you align it with a certain intent, and being intentional with it, it's like, okay, I'm getting what I want, but it's exactly how I want it to go. If I plan to make 30,000 in a matter of 2 or 3 months, and I want that to be in a certain city, because I want to capitalize in this city, I have to track all this information. Is a lot of my revenue coming from Atlanta, or is a lot of my revenue coming from Stockbridge, Georgia? And if I'm wanting to build in Stockbridge, Georgia, or if I'm wanting to build in a city with less traffic, because the guys can get to the houses faster with less traffic, then that's what I need to be researching and coming up with. So I realized that I did not have a lot of discipline when it comes to reflection of the business. And that's really what you will learn by yourself, is the reflection part. We're eager to do. We're eager to,
Yeah.
pass out cards and get the product or service out there, but we don't have that same passion when it comes to the work of how can we make it better? How can we make it 1% better each day, in terms of being knowledgeable, not just I think. Well, I think if I pass out more, well, I think if I go do this, well, I think, well, no. According to passing out 100 business cards, I was able to get 20 callbacks, and I landed 10 of those. So if I pass out 300 business cards, I should get this same, ratio. And that tells
Yeah.
me that I'm on a good track. That tells me passing out business cards in this certain area, wherever I pass it out, Starbucks, Walmart, Target, wherever I pass it out, you want to be intentional. You don't want to just go try a different place. If it was working here, go back to where it was working at. Me, Saturdays, I don't really work on Saturdays, but the people who are eager to have the yard beautified are at Home Depot and Lowe's on Saturdays, and I have my truck sitting right there. I might be reading a book, I might be on the phone, but they'll see my truck parked outside, because it's, it has the logo and the brand and everything on it. And they'll stop and they'll ask for a card or whatever, because I'm trying to market in this certain area. I would not go put my truck outside of a gas station. That served me no purpose. I want my truck outside the Home Depot, outside the Lowe's, right there by the garden center, and
So
things of
just
that.
all about being intentional, knowing where you need to be, and kind of having like taking the time to really understand where everything needs to be at, basically.
Right. You want to put everything in its place. When it comes to finances, are we aligned with the budget, right? And the expenses and manpower. When it comes to operations, what's the schedule looking like? Is it the best route? Is it going to be the most efficient route? When it comes to administration, being intentional. How do I put this LLC to the use? When do I get a trust? When do I become an S corp? How do I file my taxes this way? when it comes to marketing, is, where would I go? Everything should be intentional, because that means everything has a purpose.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So based on some of the things you just mentioned, well, could you kind of give us an idea about what are some of the requirements that generally come with a business?
Fees. A lot of
Mm.
fees. Legally, obviously you have to pay your taxes. There are so many uh tax breaks that work for your business depending on what type of field you're in. Um, Having a good CPA matters. Having a good accountant matters. Um,
And then could
Learning
you talk
how
about what a
to.
CPA could do?
So my CPA basically, it's my accountant. It's my accountant. And he's we sit down and we have meetings at the end of the year, because I basically report. Now, if you do not know how to do your own finances, I would say get with your CPA monthly, all right, or
Okay.
quarterly. Um, I get with mine at the end of the year, or once the year is over with, January, February. I'm getting with mine now, basically, for taxes, because I did all the profit loss for last year. It'll save you some money if you learn how to do your
Mm.
finances just a little bit. But a CPA basically, he'll break it down. He'll go into the science of the finances, he or she, and it'll tell you, this is your quarterly. This is your quarterly expenses. This is your quarterly this. Based upon this, you could write your gas off. You could write this off. Now, if we change this to a home address or at home office, like I have my at home office set up, we write off certain things. But it's basically hiring somebody who knows the research that you don't. When I got my truck, you will always say, get the truck in the business name, get the truck in the business name, so you can write it off. But my CPA told me, he showed me it. He said, if you're using it for business purposes, it does not matter who name is in. It could be in your personal name, it could be in your business name. You do not have to. And I got a better interest rate on my auto loan personally than business. So my truck note is cheaper personally than my business. So I don't want nobody to feel like they have to go get a higher auto loan so you could put it in your business name so you can write it off. That's not true. It could be in your name personally, and as long as you're using it for business reasons. Is it harder to track? Yes, because you have to separate your personal driving from your business driving. But with me, I only use my truck for business. It's just under my personal name. So stuff like that, he'll tell it to me. I don't know, and that's a good tax
Mm-hmm.
break. That's depreciation of an asset, and that's miles, that's gas, that's everything. So having a CPA is basically like having a finance coach on your team, and
Thank
stuff
you.
like that. You don't have time to do the research yourself, or there's just some hidden things, and they're certified in your state, so they know exactly what certain state laws. They're keeping up with the state laws as well. Some things that you just don't know that they passed the bill, when it was doing the ERCs, when they passed that, for you could get credit for each worker, during COVID and stuff like that. Some people wasn't aware. So my CPA called me and said, hey, you can get this and this and this and this and this. And I'd rather hear
Oh,
from him
wow.
than hear from an ad on Facebook or something like, hey, did you get your ERC? Did you get your ERC? It seems a little skeptical, but it's better from a
Yeah.
person who can break the science down to you or break the law down to you. Um, but legally, I would just say fees, operating fees, taxes. There's not a lot depending on your field. If it's culinary, then obviously you have certain things because it's food. It's food related.
Mm-hmm.
You got FDA stuff like that. But in Georgia, landscaping, there's no really permits for trees or cutting grass or nothing like that. It just depends on your field, and you have to look at the requirements to be in good standing with the state, depending on whatever business you choose to interact in.
Thank you. That give us a good idea about where to start. So just knowing that there are fees associated, you can't just start a business for free. You'll have to, do the research and find out what resources or what things you need to pay for. So what based on your business, how did you know that it was scalable? Like from your own words.
When I made a decision to, in my own words, when I started telling my coworkers at the base that this was passive income, I was like, look, I'm just working here as side money. My business mate, certain, but really when I decided to fully be self-employed, I did the numbers and I said, I'm going to bet on myself. And I said, if I can uh, dedicate this amount of hours a day, because this is what the business doing, taking up half of my time. I wonder if it could take up 2/3 of my time, or all of my time. Um, and that's when I realized that I can put it in a position where I want it to go, which is to be completely automated, um, to where um, besides the logistical part, besides doing our career, setting up everything, I shouldn't have to touch anything. And that's one of the biggest challenges, is to automate your business and utilize these softwares that they have to keep your business running without you having a complete hand in it. Um, but I would say scaling your business step by step is really a sit down moment with you and your reports. Honestly,
Okay.
that's really what it is. You look at your reports and you do not base it. You can base it off potential. We always base things off potential, right? But we got to
Yeah.
base things off of, I can't say I can quit my job and I'm bringing less
Yeah.
than $40,000 in a year. Like that's just not, that just doesn't add up. So I had to look at your numbers and you can see, okay, or there's a big opportunity in the market. Now that is fair to say, there's a big opportunity in the market. And I mean, this is opportunities come once in a lifetime. So I want to take it. If it's a lot of contracts for trees, or if it's a lot of contracts, or a need for hairstylists, or if it's wherever you're in the market at, right then and there, you see that it's a chance to scale exponentially fast. Sometimes it's worth the risk, but you got to make sure it's an educated risk, and just not off a gut feeling.
Thank you. That really gives me a lot of insight myself because one of the things I plan on doing is also going full time to my business sooner or later. Once I get off my feet. But another question that I had personally myself as well is, how do you know how to price your services or your product? Because a lot of times we kind of just pick a number, or maybe like we don't know for sure if that's a good number or not. So what exactly do you think?
When I first started, and that's the hustle of it all, you're just trying to, it depends on your purpose. I was just trying to get clients. If I get to 20 clients, I get to 30 clients. If I get 30 clients, I get to 40. Um, and so it wasn't a number game for me. It was more of, the more they see me, the more clients I have, and they'll realize I do a good job. I do a good service. This is what I was thinking starting the business. So they're not skeptical. And then once I have a good loyalty return rate. My clients come back every year, and I acquire new clients through word of mouth, and and higher scale clients through word of mouth, because you just do such a good job. So my goal was to do a good job and things of that nature. And then the next year, I'm like, okay, I gave y'all this deal. Now let me, come on, this is what it's worth now.
Mhm.
And you go to any other people, it's going to be worth about the same or whatever like that. But they realize, I don't want to switch up. I already have, what's good, stable, what's good. I don't want to mess up the routine. So typically when it comes to uh pricing, one, it goes off of your expenses. Uh it's always off your expenses. The gas, the equipment used, the labor costs, all of that is on there. Um Taxes. It's not fair that you have to submit taxes and you don't charge taxes. I tell people to charge taxes. Georgia has a 7% tax. I got to charge you
Mhm.
7%. That's only fair. The equipment costs me 7%. You know, My insurance
Yeah.
costs me 7%. I get taxed on everything. It's only fair that you'll realize you're becoming more of on the business side when you're being fair to yourself. So, in the beginning, you're not fair to yourself, but then you become fair to yourself and you realize that a lot of people are understanding of these things anyway. They're like, oh, I'm not even getting charged tax, or I'm not even getting charged this or whatever. And who really look at taxes? When you buy something off the shelf, the tax ain't finna really, about to change your mind. You're already at the
Yeah.
register or whatever, so stuff like that. But I also look at the service that's being required. So it's like, you could break it down to square feet. You could break it down to time. If I'm just looking to cut a property within the hour, I charge $75 an hour. You could just do it like that.
Mhm.
It's gonna take me an hour, or this property gonna take me 2 hours, or it's gonna take me, whatever. If you're doing it by bushes, you might charge $20 a bush or $10 a bush, depending on the size of the bush. I charge $5 for this bush, $10, and you'll have a breakdown. I create a handbook so the numbers are constantly, if your house sit on a hill, if you have a long driveway, if you have these are the numbers for it. So in other industries, I can't really tell you how to price it, but there's a lot of ways you can choose to price your business. And on top of that, I also tell people to add in your admin fees as well. It costs to send out invoices. It costs to do
Oh.
estimates. It costs for the software. So you're not really just only paying for the service, you're paying for the business itself, the brand costs, you know and things of that nature. So it costs to have people here. Most people stop because my guys are in uniform. Having uniformed people doing your yard instead of a guy in some baggy shorts and a hoodie, and some flip flops really
Yeah.
really matter. These are clean, pristine. You're getting adequate service here. So pricing can really vary. But down to the math, I do it by square feet. I calculate square feet, then I calculate each expense, what it takes for me to take out each piece of equipment to service your property, the my worker expense, my labor expense, and then my admin expense, to get you scheduled, to get you booked, to get the invoice out there for you, to be convenient for you to pay online using debit card, Apple, Samsung, whatever. I take everything but EBT. So all of that stuff, all that stuff costs, and you'll be more fair to yourself as your business progress. Now, if you have a valuable asset, like what your business is worth off the bat,
Mhm.
be fair to yourself off the bat. Like, this is what I charge, and stand on it. But as far as my marketing strategy, it was allow people to see the job that you do and lure just enough in. Like, I just wanted 30 to 40. I got 30 to 40. So if it's 30 to 40 and I go up 10 to 15% on the price next year, I'm looking to only get back 20%. I mean, 20 clients, because that's what I was okay with anyway, 20 clients,
Yeah.
and grow more, get another 10 to 15 with the price that I set. But because the service is so great, a lot of them end up coming back anyway. So it's because you provide a good service. But it's a lot of ways to market and scale up your pricing.
So also based on what the fees you were talking about, like the admin fees and just all the other different fees that you have to pay when starting up, how did you fund your business to do all those things? Or did you just go out of pocket and just kind of just go that way until you got funding?
So I went out of pocket only because when I started working the business, like getting the shirts, getting the magnet for the trucks, getting some more equipment, it wasn't LLC yet. I didn't do the paperwork. It literally was
Oh.
I was outside cutting grass, neighbor stopped. I went into just creating some business cards. And then I was like, ooh, I got to get me some better equipment. Ooh, I got to get a shirt. So I just started literally funding the business out of excitement.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even established yet. The business wasn't even established yet. Thank God a tree didn't fall on nobody's house or anything of that nature. The business would have failed before it even began. But but grants are always there. There's a lot of ways to get funding, lines of credit, and things of that nature. I do a lot of business coaching and finance coaching to show people there's a lot of ways to get funding for your business. But I started out of pocket. Um, I have a few investors. I personally have not took out a business loan, which is kind of rare in a lot of people's, because the first thing is to accumulate, business loan, get 50K here, get 50K there, get 50K there. But I was waiting on, I said, if I can without doing it, and it's working a little harder. It is working harder, but if I can without doing it, if I can get to the automation process, this next step is automating the business, and I needed room for error. With the business being how it is, and I have multiple departments and I have guys working and stuff of that nature, and I'm trying to get contractors in and more commercial contracts. I need this funding to where when I jump and I'm trying to scale the business to where I could take my hands off of it, I need room for error to practice with that. Like, okay, this is what happened when I hired a financial planner. This what happened when I did this. This what happened with that. This failed. I need room for error, and that costs money. So I'm waiting on that. I didn't kind of I wanted to gain some more knowledge and play with the numbers a little bit so I can make accurate risk. But I still wanted to have the funding in my back pocket. So when it is time to make those jumps, I have a parachute. You're not gonna land safely to the promised land.
Well, that's definitely nice to know because I've also been personally funding my business, so it's been kind of hard. But like you said, I'm trying to do without the loan, so I'm doing pretty good so far. But
It takes a
you were
lot.
oh, go ahead. Mhm.
I'm listening. It takes a lot. I was just gonna say, and in certain points, I do have credit cards personally that I used and things of that nature, that I'm still working to pay off. I'm not going to say like I just don't have debt,
Yeah,
that
me
comes
too.
from the business, but but the business itself is generating revenue since the LLC was created. It constantly generated revenue, and so when I go to the bank as the director of operations or the director of finances, with no PG, no personal guarantee, no nothing of that, nothing that's related to me, just the business as an entity. This what it has generated without the business asking you for anything.
Yeah,
Does it tie me up financially? Is it safe financially? No. But as an entrepreneur, that's the risk that you take.
yeah,
But you do have that in your back pocket is when you go to these businesses and they see you've been meeting the standards that they ask for, and you don't even have you want some type of debt. You want your net 30 accounts. You want your net 30
yeah.
accounts, whatever, to build your business index score up. But you haven't asked for, nothing too extraneous.
So, but based on what you were talking about before as well, with systems of support, how exactly did you start get your systems of support, and how would you recommend others find systems of support?
I learned a lot from YouTube University. I'm not gonna take no credit for anything that I just Google.
Hey,
Uh
but that's being realistic. Like, I use Google,
yeah,
YouTube all the time.
yeah. It's there. It's literally there. I say we do not have to struggle like the people before us, where they had to go into the library and research these things. It's literally at our fingertips. So why not utilize it? But the softwares, the biggest thing about them is not even being knowledgeable to know that they exist. It's to put in the work to master them. And optimizing it to the best of your ability. That was one software that I was paying for like $100 a month. And when I was paying for the $100 a month, I said, okay, I'm gonna learn this stuff as I continue. But I was literally just putting things, I was literally just using it as a scheduling software when it does so much more than that. I could put the route in there and they'll put the route and okay, you want to go to here first and then here first. Then based on this service, you want to go here first. Based on the crew, based on the guys, you only got 3 people working. So you want to go this, that, like it does it for you. And I did not know how to make it do that. It sent out mass automated emails at a certain time, whether it's flyers, newsletters, coupons, articles, things of that nature. And I did not know how to make it do that. It has a lot of good features in it. It ties my invoices to it. So when the clients pay, it generates this certain dollar figure, which is tied to my finance software. They actually kind of go hand in hand. I think they're partners, if I'm not mistaken. So it ties into my finance software, and I did not know it did that. I was calculating everything that was in that software to my finance software when it really generates itself. So that was really cool to learn. And you realize you've been working harder and not smarter. So yeah, finding the softwares is a gem. To know the softwares exist, but knowing how to master them, that's when you get very, very dangerous in building your business.
So I guess now I would mostly just ask, how did you deal with debt and not debt, doubt and failure?
To be transparent, I would say fasting and praying. If you was to depend on your self-knowledge, I cannot say that's guaranteed the right answer 100% of the time, but I can tell you that looking within and listening to your spirit, it'll lead you, because that's ultimately where your passion comes from. All right, your passion comes from that fireball that's inside of you. So if you're doubting yourself, that's diminishing, right? That fireball that said, I got it. Your confidence, this flame, that torch that's inside of you, lights the pathway towards your success. That's the thing that allows you to stay up until 3-4 in the morning and accomplish goals and tasks and stuff like that. So really sitting with yourself, finding in within. Uh, you ask people, you ask your friends, you have mentors, you have family, you ask people, but at the end of the day, they are only validating what was already inside you, and that's for you to understand and get back to that point of contact that had you starting the business in the first place. Your why is very important. Without a why, what's the reason, right? So when doubt appears in a real transparent moment, and I think it was August, it was right before actually story time.
Okay.
And I don't know if the percentage on this laptop has time, but if we okay, I'll go get the charger if need be. We could pause, but story time right before the Money for Life conference. And where we were at, Charlotte, was that Charlotte?
Yeah, it was Charlotte.
Yeah, right before Charlotte, I had caught COVID for the 3rd time.
Oh,
and
wow.
And it was doing a lot on the body. It was doing a lot on the body. And my close friends on social media is people that my close friends is people that I could take advice from. Even on social media, like what's related in real life is related virtually. My close friends is people I can take advice from. So my close friends on social media, I'm like, yo, I think I'm just going to sell this business and get back to working a 9 to 5. It was kind of good working a 9 to 5, from home.
Yeah.
And they was like, everybody, they literally, I kept every screenshot because I was, doubting myself. It was like, no, I won't allow you. You came too far. We need you in the future. If you don't do it, who's gonna do it? Da 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 da. And I realized it was a week or two where I was really, I was download how to bid your business, how to sell your business, who you talk to about. Like, I was really doing the research. And ultimately, what got me and what validated it as well was, I was like, I got booked to talk to the youth about entrepreneurship. You can't go nowhere without a business, without a business. Like, what are you gonna go tell these people? And at the end of the day, I still didn't know what I was gonna tell the youth when I got there. And when I was telling y'all about the honesty about being prepared to fail, being prepared to overcome adversity, really taking your business as if it's your 9 to 5, or if it's school, all these different things. It was only because I realized when I was faced with adversity, it exposed my preparation, and I wasn't prepared for those type of things. And instead of wanting to face them and rise, I kind of wanted to duck them and run. And
Mm-hmm.
and you got to find it within. But to be completely honest with you, it was friends that validated it. It was family that validated that this is your purpose. CFA. These are all the reasons what made me go search within. Like, these people telling me, this is it. This is your path. Like, this is something you like. We see that you love to do it. And one of my friends, he knew I had COVID. He was like, "You caught a little COVID, and now you gonna sell the business." I was like, "Oh, you're right. That's a little too dramatic. That's a little too
Yeah.
dramatic." But we find ourselves in some dark times, and once the light come, you kind of realize how over dramatic they are. But I always say that your dark times made you strong, or you was already strong and they made you prove it, right?
I like that.
So
Yes.
yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes. I got it on my mirror right now. I love that quote, because with strength if you don't use it? What's power if you don't apply it? And I'm not saying you assert it at any given time. You assert it when you need to, and the most times you need to is when you have to get this weight off your shoulders, right? And so I just said it was time to do some push-ups, and it's time to get back, to getting in the gym, literally and figuratively, getting in the gym on this laptop, but literally, getting my body back to a place where it can run a business. So that's what I'll say. If anybody's doubting themselves or feeling like, and failure is a sense of giving up already. I would say
Mm-hmm.
failed or failing. And that's just in the sense of you're just learning. That's just in the sense of that. But
Yeah.
I don't even like to say, because failure is a title. It's like you stuck with it. And I don't even like it. I like doubting, but to say that you failed, oh man, and maybe I don't like it because it hit a little deeper, So I got to change the word to soften the blow a little bit, because that does something to my mental. Like, man, you always want to succeed, and then you hear the opposite. That kind of just discourages you. So I
Yeah.
would say stay away from that word. That is a no word for me, because that's too discouraging. That's a very discouraging word, and we fear it. We fear failure. But I realized that before failure, I if you look at it in a different way, we feel failure, right? In a sense of we didn't accomplish, all of these bad things happened, but I could still go get a 9 to 5 and have a good life, and I fear the thoughts of me never succeeding in the ways that I wanted. So that's what I fear most of all, me not succeeding. Yeah, I could go get a stable income and things of that nature, but I don't feel like I succeeded. Right. So before I even look at the possibility of failing or this happening or going down this road, I look at it as what I'd rather lose everything knowing that I gave it everything than not giving my all and not feel complete within.
Thank you. I feel exactly the same as well because I've gone through quite a few of those challenges myself. Just being able,
Mhm.
just trying to figure out whether or not I should keep going, whether I should hold off on it and stuff like that. But I really appreciate you bringing that into words, because sometimes you could like feel something, but sometimes you also don't know how to say it. So I that's something I really enjoy being said here, because that's something that's very real for a lot of different people.
Keep going. I always
Mhm.
keep going. Like when you're faced with it, and sometimes it's fair to also say, to take a break and step back and refrain, because you look at it so much from the inside. You don't have a chance to go on outside. So also going to Charlotte, when what I realized Charlotte was a weekend away. It brought so much peace and everything, and I got to look at the business from an outside perspective, like, this is what I do it for. I love being here. Okay, I was eager to type reports and stuff, that because I'm refreshed, I'm rejuvenated. I would say take one weekend out the month for yourself, whether you go get a hotel or Airbnb or something simple, or just get away with you and yourself. And you don't have to be far, it could be right down the street. It's just the fact of you getting away. You saved up for the month or whatever to accompany yourself, go out to eat, and run through your business plan and rejuvenate yourself and say, okay, this is what we need to do next month, or this is what we're about to do in the quarter, or okay, this is my plan. I'm going to go work some more, get some more funding so I can get this software, whatever it is. But it is hard to look at it while you're standing in the middle of the fire. Sometimes you got to
Yeah.
step outside the fire, and see how, and see where everything is kind of leaning towards, and see where you need to, where the building is leaning, leaning when you're inside the building. When you're inside the building, you want to step outside the building and see, okay, this infrastructure needs some help over here, or needs some support over here, or we building all of the left side up and not, we're not building on the
Yeah.
right side or anything, or we don't have no windows, it's just certain things you got to see from the outside. So it's okay to take a step back and look at your progress that you made. And you don't stop, but you're just looking at how can I, make this either easier on myself or make more progress, you know.
So, based on where you are now, what advice would you give to someone like me, who wants to do, or just advice in general? What advice would you give to me or anybody else my age?
In this age group,
Yeah.
read. I would say read. Um, Reading is one of the most powerful things you can do in this world. Um, because it shows your thirst for knowledge, and when you realize that you can't, like most people say, you can't work on the business while working in the business. Um, you have to obtain some type of knowledge so you can figure out, I need to take a step back and be the CEO that I'm called to be. I can't continue to be the worker and the operator and the grant writer and all of these things. So reading is powerful. Articles, books, um, anything. Just grab something a day, 15 pages a day, reading something in your market. Those would be my words. When I found the love to read again, I found the love of growing. Right, like the words in my brain was like the water and nutrients for growth. Um, and through that, it's just been so much easier. It's where my peace comes. Before I start my day, I just have to read. I read, and I would tell anybody, um, just a young adult in general, journaling is good, but also journaling about your business is even like more amazing, because besides reports, it's not about reports, it's about your feelings towards your business and how you think things are occurring. And you have so much bottled up in your mind where you don't get a chance to express it. And if you don't express it, you start making poor decisions based off of those feelings. Now, when you get the feelings out and you start expressing these things, or you started reading what's on your journal and things of that nature, um, you start looking at it, and as you're writing, literally as you're writing, you're like, I'm a little more, on this side. Maybe I am making more emotional decisions. Maybe I'm being a little bit too passive aggressive. Reading is for growth. Journaling is for I would say like
Kind of like
rejuvenation,
reflection.
reflection. There you go. There you go. I like that. There we go. Reflection. Exactly. Exactly. And once you plan, once you have a plan and you have a purpose, you just execute it. I say tell people plan, purpose, execute. That'll be the things. That's what I'm working on this year. I'm working on focusing and locking back in. Starting this master's degree really required me to focus. So discipline and consistency are my biggest two words this year. Um, and be careful what you ask for, because to be disciplined means you got to remove some things, and be consistent means you got to do it whether you feel like it or not. But you realize it all works for you, and it's all fun at the end. You can laugh about it at the end. All right, but when you get that degree, you can laugh about everything, but when you get in that degree, it's torture. It can be overwhelming, but it's worth it. It's worth the smile. It's worth the tears when you cross the stage, and you feel that success, you feel that accomplishment. um yeah.
Thank you so much for all your advice, and it really has gave me such a great impact, because these are some questions that I even had myself as I was starting my business and just through my process now. But thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge. And to close out, to any of you listening, we would like for you to connect with us and continue the conversation. So we have Instagram, YouTube here. You can start the conversation here in the chat, and then also we also have a Discord. I'll be linking that in the chat as well. But yes, please continue the conversation. That's one of the purposes of the podcast, is to make sure that we start conversations like this to make it more likely that people will do things like this. And also, yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe for the video. Thank you.